A Kogi State High Court sitting in Lokoja has ordered the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, to appear in court on May 13th to show cause why an order of committal should not be made against him for allegedly disobeying a court order. The EFCC boss is facing contempt charge for carrying out some acts upon which the EFCC has been restrained by the court on February 9, 2024, pending the determination of the substantive originating motion. The order by Judge A.I. Jamil follows an ex parte application filed by Yahya Bello through his lawyer, M.S. Yusuf. Meanwhile, chieftains of the ruling All Progressives Congress say that Yahya Bello, the immediate past governor of Kogi State, is merely a victim of some personal vendetta, with the alleged media trial masterminded by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. Okay, Frank Tietie, lawyer and a rise analyst, is here to look at these new dimensions to the issue. Very warm welcome to News Now.
Thank you, and my pleasure as always.
This is unending. It's like the judiciary against itself. The judiciary gives one order, and when you see the order, you find that the EFCC, in its right of way to go ahead and arraign, in fact, a court, in Kogi State, a high court in Kogi State had given the EFCC chairman that leverage, or let me say the EFCC, to do that. Now we're having another pronouncement.
I think, this is why sometimes it's important to educate the public on how the legal process works.
Very well.
If not, it is often, the case where you hear people say, oh, no, the judges have been compromised, the judges have taken bribe, oh, it's because the judge sitting in Kogi. It doesn't always sound like that. And like I try to establish many times, that the court is an unbiased, independent umpire. It rules on whatever that is before it. That's why it's important that all parties, the two parties specifically, that have contending issues before the court must always be there. In this case involving Yahya Bello, had sought an order of court. In fact, there was a ruling which eventually transformed into a judgment of the court, wherein the EFCC was directed that it should make certain preconditions before it ever attempts to arrest Yahya Bello. In fact, the first ruling was that it was barred completely from arresting Yahya Bello, on the grounds that Yahya Bello was able, through affidavit evidence, to convince the court that the EFCC is pursuing a personal agenda against him.
But the same ruling asked the EFCC to approach the Federal High Court and file charges against Yahya Bello.
Let me clarify.
It's the same ruling.
Let me clarify.
Okay.
What the ruling said was that it cannot prevent the EFCC from doing its job, which includes investigation and ultimate arrest wherever it is necessary. However, because Yahya Bello had satisfied the court that the EFCC has a certain bias against it, it's its posture to persecute him, in the sense that it has written letters of threat, it has written letters of invitation, it has attempted several times a form of media trial to malign his name. In that case, Yahya Bello sought the protection of the court. Therefore, the court ordered that if ever the EFCC wants to go and proceed to arrest Yahya Bello, it must first seek the leave of the Federal High Court. That's very important, because when seeking the leave, the Yahya Bello's lawyers will have the opportunity to now make representation before the Federal High Court in Abuja that, look, we must prevent the abuse of the gargantuan powers of the EFCC, the enormous powers of the EFCC, from being used to persecute, not instead of prosecute, to persecute Yahya Bello. So Yahya Bello was the court was more interested in protecting Yahya Bello's right to a fair trial. Now, it is believed that the trial will not be fair if the EFCC is allowed to just go, on the wide spree to go and arrest Yahya Bello without considering the fact that Yahya Bello has convinced the court that I mean, the EFCC is against him.
Are you
on
saying
the personal
court,
vendetta.
from your submission, is the court double speaking?
Not at all. Not at all. I think I praise the Kogi State High Court position. It made it clear. It cited the plethora of authorities to say that no, it cannot stop the EFCC from going about its statutory functions, which includes investigation and arrest. However, it saw the EFCC to be complicit in the way that it is biased against Yahaya Bello. And in that posture, it would deprive him of his rights. In that case, to ensure that Yahaya Bello's rights as an individual, his right to liberty, his right to fair hearing, all of those rights are protected. Go to the Abuja court, Federal High Court, if you must, seek the leave. Inform the Abuja court of the proceedings, of the need that this court has directed that you must protect his rights. That the EFCC didn't do, and that's why we are experiencing this, we are witnessing these contempt proceedings against the EFCC chairman. And I find that quite embarrassing. I was here to staunchly defend the EFCC chairman, as it then was Abdul Rashid Bawa, when they said the same contempt charges were filed against him. In fact, the court ordered his arrest. You cannot be a law enforcement officer who is supposed to be the chief custodian, chief example of how to follow the law, and be the one breaking the law. So it becomes a huge embarrassment for a law enforcement agency like the EFCC. So it's a simple thing. It could have just waited, approached the Federal High Court and say, look, there's an order directing us to approach this court to seek leave.
But the EFCC said they've done that.
You see, what the EFCC could have done was to even challenge that order. And that's what it did by going on appeal. Because it wondered, yes, now that it's coming too late, but now that it's withdrawn, the expectation, and I believe that will be one of the defense the EFCC will put up, is that they are willing to comply with the order of the Kogi State High Court, and in the hope that the committal order will not actually be issued.
Well, what becomes of the charges that the EFCC has filed before the Federal High Court? That was why I asked the question. Is the Kogi High Court, in its ruling, double speaking here?
No. I don't think so.
And if there are charges already at the Federal High Court, how does those charges hamper, interfere, or emasculate Yahaya Bello?
You see, if you look at this whole thing, Yahaya Bello can be in court simply and submit himself to the authority of the court without the shenanigans, without the intervention of the EFCC. What Yahaya Bello is afraid of, clearly, is a situation where his enemies are believed to be the ones controlling the EFCC, and they want to use the EFCC to humiliate him. That is not supposed to be, because the EFCC is supposed to be an administrative body. It's not supposed to act as a judicial body that it can meet punishment.
The chairman has said that they don't act in that manner.
Of course, in fact, I have a lot of respect for the chairman, because first, he's a lawyer and he's given a different posture to the EFCC. However, Yahaya Bello has given a different impression before the Kogi State High Court, which has not been impugned, which has not been overturned. And the Kogi State High Court believes him that, in fact, when I read the judgment, he gave a long history of how much the EFCC has attempted several times to harass Yahaya Bello. And Yahaya Bello is saying that this move to arrest me is geared towards embarrassing me. It is outside the scope of the EFCC to assume judicial powers to punish me even before I get tried. In that case, he wants to submit himself only to the court and not to the EFCC that wants to do to him whatever they want to do to him.
Like the embarrassment of the $720,000 he paid in lieu of a toddler for higher education?
See, the interesting thing, and we must be careful about this, because if you look at our jurisprudence, it's founded on a very important principle, the presumption of innocence. And it's always very risky when those who are accusing you, instead, are rushing to the media to find, to find sympathy against you. And these are all the things that the court in Kogi State, frowned at, that you don't have to do that. You be professional in your job. If you have charges against this man, you can't file them and serve him and then let him appear in court and not create impression, not issue him threats, not cajoling him, not sending him messages to meet you privately or in one way or the other. Yahaya Bello said, look, he doesn't trust these people. And you see, it is within his rights as a Nigerian. And this is a beautiful thing about the Nigerian legal system. When you as an individual perceive that your right is about to be infringed upon, when you perceive you will not be fairly treated, you rush to the court for protection. The only protection the Kogi State High Court gave to Yaya Bello is that EFCC, do not arrest this man. If you must proceed against him in any form of criminal prosecution, first approach the Federal High Court if you must, and then seek leave. And in that process of seeking leave, Yaya Bello's lawyers would have the opportunity of making representation to the court that this is what the EFCC have done. The Federal High Court will now give a certain direction that will protect Yaya Bello. Yaya Bello will submit himself before the Federal High Court, and then there can be some semblance of a fair trial. What Yaya Bello, I perceive, is afraid of is the semblance of the EFCC moving against him even when he has not been proven guilty.
Is that the norm?
Well,
is it the norm as a lawyer? Is it
what sort of norm? It's not the norm for the FCC to do that, to act that way. It's the norm is that when you have concluded your investigation, you proceed to court, and then you in this case, when you're filing an information, serve the person. And now the good thing about it is that when there is refusal of service, you can also file for subsidiary service. But I think that the problem here, where the EFCC is missing it, where it's trying to bungle this matter, is that it has had a history which Yaya Bello has pointed out to the court, and the court is now on a mission to protect him. And whether you like it or not, the Kogi State High Court is the superior court of record. Its orders must be obeyed by all authorities and persons in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, this is now a very difficult situation for the EFCC. You're asking the question about what happens to the charges that have been filed against Yaya Bello. The charges are there, but the EFCC must now leave those charges and now begin to defend its chairman, whether or not he should go to prison for disobeying the orders of the Kogi State High Court.
A massive lacuna here, just as you lawyers say, but it's taken some political dimension.
Oh, well, the APC said it. The APC said it that, look, what Yaya Bello is facing is simply, for political misunderstanding that he has had with some powers that be, that this is a personal vendetta against him.
He's being persecuted.
Of course, because, and then the story out there in the public is that he dared to challenge the president.
Where is the persecution in corruption allegations here?
Well,
what has been filed?
The point is this. Look at it. The story in the public domain is that, look, there are several persons in the shoes of Yaya Bello. Some of them who are also in this government. That if this government, if this government really wants to see justice that is blind, that treats everyone fairly, it should have first of all, arrested and dealt with such persons. And that starting with Yaya Bello is as a result of the fact that of his political positions, the positions he took before, the positions he took especially in the build-up to the 2023 general election, where he opposed the president of the Federal, now president of the Federal Republic as then an aspirant, where he chose not to stand. And the reasons are clear. Yaya Bello has always approached politics by standing alone, and probably that's what ended the governorship of Kogi State. And there was no reason why he didn't think he could have been president. Unfortunately, that is being visited upon him as a form of persecution. But that's the perception of the All Progressive Congress and his supporters in the All Progressive Congress. However, if the EFCC must prosecute him, it must do that according to law. But there are some mistakes. There are some preliminary things the EFCC did, which the court is now viewed to be suspicious. That's why it's making all these orders protecting Yaya Bello.
Thank you so very much, Frank Tietie, Arise analyst and lawyer.
My pleasure.